That's dative instrumental like osan is your accusative, and usa back to the nominative and evocative are the same. The neuter, remember it, the nominative and vocative are the same. And also, there's one peculiarity of the neuter, the nominative and accusative are the same also. And that's in all of your neuters, okay? So we have ontos. Notice it's the same as the masculine, ontos. Onti, it's the same as the dative instrumental locative of the masculine. So they're the same. And so if you didn't have an article with it, you'd have to go by context to tell whether it was neuter or masculine if it was anything from the genitive through the vocative, through the locative, I'm sorry. Genitive, ablative, dative, instrumental, locative. And the masculine and the neuter would all be the same. Any questions? Okay. Now your plural over here, this is the being verb, me, ontes, and of course your vocative will be the same, onton, and so that's going to be the same in form as the genitive, ablative for the neuter. Usi, with an accent mark on it. Now, the different, this is basically the same ending of your present tense verb, one of your present tense verb forms, but the accent mark will be a little different here. But it stands by itself, it's not the ending of the word. And so they're the same over here. Dative, instrumental, locative are the same for nominative and masculine and neuter both. And of course, your accusative is different in the masculine. Your vocative and nominative are the same. Your feminine, nominative and vocative are the same. Your genitive has the own ending. Just they all have the own ending, but it has a little bit different form here. Uson. So it's different, but it still ends in on. And eyes, usais, dative instrumental like usas. That's your accusative, and your nominative and vocative are the same. Now back to the neuter. The nominative and vocative are the same, but remember also the accusative is the same. So all three of those are the same. That's the peculiarity of the neuter. And your genitive still ends in on, and it's going to be the same as the masculine genitive plural. Same endings. Okay. And then your dative, instrumental, locative, those three are the same as the masculine. Again, you'll have to determine that by context. So it'll have to be by context. You'll have to look at the context to tell between the nominative and vocative and accusative in the participle. Context will have to tell you. Any questions? All right. Now, let's take these endings and we're going to take luo. And of course, the lu is your, I'll break it here for you. Lu is your, come on, thought it would, there, damn it. There is your stem, lu. All right. So we're going to go back to our stem. There's your stem, lu. And then we take the on ending and bring it down and attach it to that stem. Now it's a participle, and it means loosing. In its nominative case, participle. We get some rules for it, some syntactical rules of how things fit together in just a few minutes. We'll look at them. But it makes it pretty simple. Let's take it and we'll move this down. You can see the form. Genitive and ablative, they're the same. We take the ontos ending and drop it with lu. So it goes right there toward the end, ontos. And then that gives you your form. Right? And that's genitive, ablative. And we take onti, we put it to lu, and that makes your dative, instrumental, locative form. So these become the endings for your present active participle. just attach them to the stem. Is that pretty simple? Anybody have a problem with that? Our kids did. We we attach on top to this low stem. And of course, back vocative is back to the same as the nominative. I'll just put the on in it. Okay, move on. Any questions? So we got our participles. Now, we're going to go back up here. We'll do the same thing with the feminine stem. USA. We attach USA to the lu, and we have the nominative singular feminine participle, present active participle. And usays, and that'll be your genitive ablative form. But the usays attach it to lu. Am I boring you with this? Is that, can you see the pattern? Anybody having trouble with the pattern? Usay. And so we have all three dative instrument vocative, usay, and attach that to lu. And we have usan, we attach that to lu and we get the accusative. And usa is back to the same as the nominative. Questions? All right, let's go back up here. I'm going to run through all of them. I know it's boring, but at least you'll see how it works. On, we just put lu and we have on, lu on. Okay, attach the on the last two letters. On toes, it's going to be the same. On lu on toes, and that's genitive ablative. On T, dative instrumental locative on T. We put that onto the lu, and that makes dative instrumental locative participle. To be loosing, or to loose. Okay, to be loosing. Loosing. And then we get the on ending, and that makes lu on and lu on. And these two are the same, vocative and accusative and nominative are all the same. Right. And we'll look at the plural, masculine, ontes, and the ontes. On tone, the on tone. Lucy. Now, what you would get into here pretty easily if you're not careful, your accent marks become different. So your accent goes in a different location. That's kind of how you're going to tell the difference. The usi would be, homineti usi would be a third person plural, wouldn't it? But your accent mark's in a different place if you go back and look at it. That's kind of tricky. You got to watch that one, okay? Same thing over here, okay? Ontas is accusative and ontas, and the nominative and plural are the same. Now, I don't know, am I wasting time with this? Does everyone see the pattern? Anybody having trouble with the pattern? Okay, I want to move on. I'm not going to go through all the rest of them. You can see the pattern, okay? I think your lambdas on your file are uppercase lambdas, which I've corrected. And I'll send you this file right after class. Is that all right, everybody? Mine had uppercase lambdas right in here, somewhere in here. I can't remember where it was. Maybe over here. But I corrected it. All right. The present active participles of any verb are made in the same way by taking the present indicative endings off and affixing the verb stem of the participle stem and endings. The present participle of lego is legon. And then you'd say that would be nominative singular masculine participle, okay? Active voice would be active participle, nominative singular active participle. All right, lego. Let me highlight it so you can see what I'm talking about. Now then you take the leg, and that's your stem, leg, and you make it legusi. And so you put Usi here instead of on, Legusi, Legusa, I'm sorry. And that would be your nominative singular masculine, feminine, nominative singular feminine, present active participle. Okay, so you decline it. That would be this right here is nominative singular masculine present active participle of Lego. And if you had an analytical concordance, that's how I would list it. And you'd take Legusa, you'd take the Omicron nu and put USA in place of it, and that would be nominative singular feminine present active participle. And of course, you'd take the Omicron nu and put Omega nu and drop it and put it on Omicron nu in place of it. That would be nominative singular neuter present active participle. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
I'm having trouble understanding how this translates to English. Is there any way you could give us some examples, maybe, of how you get from, well, like in the genitive, the different cases, how that translates to English? Does it always include one, like the one eating, or I hope that made sense.
Yeah, this is just the word saying, all right? And who's going to be saying? Well, if this is nominative case, and we just take this form right here, nominative case, you take the subject of the sentence to be the one saying. All right? If we say Jesus was saying, okay, and then you have something he said, this would be Jesus, and then you would have, or Jesus is saying, let's say is saying, it'll be Jesus, and then you'd say legon, Jesus is saying.
How is that different from lege, present active?
It is a little bit different in form, and it covers the same ground, a lot of the same ground, but it's more powerful because this participle functions both as a verb and an adjective or an adverb. So it has both forms. It functions that way. So it has a little bit different form. And it gives the language more options for variety in the way it's said. But you'd know who was saying it because this would be whoever's saying it, if this is the participle, has to be in the nominative case, and it has to be singular number, and it has to be masculine gender. So, whereas Lego would go with anything, be masculine, feminine, or neuter. Does that make sense?
Okay. Can you, for example, give me can you give an example maybe of a phrase of the accusative of how you would use this?
All right. Let's say we may have it up here on this at the beginning. Okay, this is dative instrumental locative form. Okay. The one loving us and loosing, and okay, out of the sins of us, out of our sins. All right. So the one loving us. And this is to the one loving us or by the one loving us, the dative instrumental locative. And that's the accusative case, of course, right there. And so the one loving us, we're being loved. And whoever this is either, this form here would be either the form on T, this dative instrumental locative, that form will fit on T and becomes an omega. And so that's either masculine or neuter. All right. I think we'll see it down here in some of our translations. Let's see it a little better. Maybe we have something down here. Okay. Ho anthropos, ho iphone. Okay. This is the man, and this is the participle, the speaking. And who's speaking? Well, it's nominative. It's nominative when this course is nominative. And it's singular. This, of course, is singular. And it's masculine. So this is the man speaking. And this is the man, the one speaking. Every time you have an article with the participle, it's always used as an adjective. So this is the man, the man speaking, the one speaking. That would be literal. We translated the man speaking, right? And this is at heteron. If the different, and this is okay. This is sound. Hygiene comes from this word. Didascalia is doctrine, and this is not the normal word for teaching. He's setting it forth. Okay, so if someone a different doctrine other than this, the sound doctrine is teaching, right? And so this is the present active participle. This is a doctrine that is being sound. The being sound. And so it's describing the doctrine. So it functions like an adjective. So this participle here functions like it's being sound. The doctrine is being sound. And that's a little bit different than just use an adjective and say the healthy doctrine, sound doctrine. So it functions a little bit differently. We see some more down here. We'll get some down in here when we look at these. Can we put that off for a few minutes and maybe we might not even get to it this week. All right. But these are some illustrations of where it fits in. Okay, this is dative. Tell by the article there. There's God, that's accusative. The klepton, the one stealing, the thief. So this is the one who steals, the one stealing. And so it's the thief. And it's a continuous action because it's present tense. Here's an accusative participle. You call upon the one judging according to the work of each one, by each one's work. Here's the participle, onta, ton onta. And so this is the one judging. All right. So that the one judging is called upon. You call upon the one judging according to the work of each one. 1 Peter 1:17, right out of the text of the Bible. There's an accusative one. That's an accusative participle. It's used there in 1 Peter 1:17. The one judging. That's a real good translation. I like that. Does that help a bit? Maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me get back. We're gonna spend probably 3 classes on this because participles are so important. So we'll spend some more time on this. Participles have 2 uses. Usually, they're classified in 2 categories. They're used as adjectives or adjectival. That's the term that's used, but they're used basically as an adjective, and they're used in that's where the noun form of them comes out and is most emphatic, and the verbal part is pushed into the background. It's still there, but it's pushed into the background. And then there's the verbal form. It's called an adverbial form. And that's where your verb part comes to the forefront. Now, I want to go back and give you some quick rules. These are important. And we'll get to these in a little bit later. But this right here, when you have a participle, all right, with an article, it's always used as an adjective. Always. Okay. If it doesn't have an article, it still could be an adjective, but it could be an adverbial usage. That's the rule. Okay. And so we'll have to spend a little time on that. Right. They're similar to English participles, but they're so exact because they have tense, like a verb. They have so they'll have a tense. They'll have a which is a kind of action. Then they'll have a person, first, second, third person, and then they'll have a could be a voice. There's three voices: active, middle, and passive. And then they all have not they have case like a noun. Okay, they'll have all these forms. This will be part of the declension of it. Of course, they'll have gender as well. Okay. The present participle stem suffix are identical to the present active participle of a me. We've already laid that out. Once you learn these, you got the endings for all of your present participles. You know what they have the end. Okay, that's the rule. That's why these are important. And here's Luo, and we went through it. And so that's why we'll probably spend 3 weeks on this to get it in. I'm going to get out of this a minute. And what I want to do is we'll get out and get into the, I don't know. Can you see where it says participles?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. There are 6,674 participles in the Greek New Testament. Kind of important. Does that make sense? The articular participle is always used as an adjective. And we see right here. Now, there's only 4 kinds of participles: present, aorist, you got the first and second aorist, future, and perfect. Those are the only kinds. It's the same way you have with your infinitives. Okay. Right. The adjectival participle. This is on page 359 of that file that I sent you, and it's entitled Greek Lexicon and Grammar Notes file. And again, if you don't have it, let me know, and I'll send it to you again tonight. Okay. The adjectival participle, most examples have the article with the participle, right? If it has an article, it's adjectival. If it doesn't have an article, it could still be adjectival, it could be adverbial. It does not have the article if it's adverbial. Now, it doesn't have the article doesn't mean it's adverbial, but it can't be adverbial if it has the article. Is that clear? Everyone got that? So that's something you don't get mixed up on it. Without the article, it still might be adjectival. That's a contextual question then, right? And he says, 9 tells us the intermediate grammar, the article followed by a participle gender, best translated in English by a pronoun followed by a relative clause, right? Glass and De Bruner say basically the same thing. Being an adjective, the participle declined in gender, number, and case. It agrees in gender, number, and case with the substantive that it modifies. So if it's modifying a noun, substantive, or a pronoun, it's going to agree in gender, number, and case. So with that pronoun, okay? This gets into where we get into Romans 8, verse 26 and 27. We got to learn the rules of our participles, or we get mixed up in something there. Right? Interpretation is wrong on the part of some people because they don't follow the rules. right? If we have time, we might look at that next week, right? But here are your rules for it, and they talk about all this. The tenses of your participles, and he tells you have the aorist, present, and future, and perfect. Those are your four tenses. Okay. So you have the aorist, present, future, and perfect. Those are your four participle forms. This tells you what they mean. And let's just take a quick look at it. We're looking at the present participle here. It's all we've been looking at right here. It indicates action that is contemporaneous with the action of the main verb. Contemporaneous at the same time, what that means. Does that help? So we got a participle. It's expressing something that's going on with the main verb. Okay, contemporaneous with the action of the main verb. The future indicates a subsequent action, which means in the future. The perfect indicates action has come to a state of being, like the perfect tense depicts with the verb. The aorist indicates action that's antecedent, but that's not always the case. And so he tells you this, but other authorities will tell you something different. And so I think he's got an error right here, okay? It's not always antecedent. And so it does not properly denote an act in past time, but the act regarded as a simple event without regard to its progress. So basically the difference in the aorist just expresses that it's happened or it will happen. So it's a simple event. The event it's denoting it. It's a simple event without regard to the progress or completion. Right. The aorist generally denotes action that took place before the main verb, but this past tense is by no means necessarily a part of the meaning of the tense. It's going to have to get it from the antecedent action, from other parts of the sentence. Right. And here's some more that talk about this aorist participle. This is where some people really get in trouble. They want it to always be antecedent. And these authorities here will tell you that's not the case. Right? So be aware of that. So we haven't got to the aorist, but we're just looking at the present participle. Any questions? All right. Now, participle, antecedent action, simultaneous action, subsequent action. Now, right here, this is Dana and Manny intermediate grammar. They tell you that antecedent action is generally expressed by the aorist or perfect. Nevertheless, the aorist frequently expresses contemporaneous or even subsequent action. You have to look at the verbs it's associated with, okay? So that's, and we'll look at this down here. There's more rules here. You have a good summary of the rules from various grammar books. So they're available here about around page 359, okay? So if you want to study on it more, there's more information in that right there. Starts with participles. Other questions? Okay, I want to go back. All right, or are you back to it? Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Now, you have the different voices. You have your three voices, active, passive, and middle. And so be aware that the participle has voice, just like verbs do, but it has tense, and the verb doesn't have tense. So it's going to have other, it's just does some things that a verb won't do, okay? And the present participle is learned, and of course, you got to go back and go to the A and those are your endings for your present active participles. Okay, that's your endings. You're gonna get those down, work on those. Okay. All right. Other act, once the present participle is learned, the other tenses are easily formed. We'll talk about that. We got about 1 or 2 minutes, we'll stop. The future, all you do is add a sigma to it and take that ending. You have the lu on, and you put a sigma on the lu on, and that makes it future. The sigma is the mark of your future. All right? And that will be your future. Your aorist has a, instead of just a sigma, it has a sigma alpha. And so it has sigma alpha. That's the mark of the active participle, aorist participle. All right. So lu on, and you put lu sauce. All right. That becomes the mark of it. So that's how it's laid out. We don't need to learn that right now, but that's what happens. The second aorist has a different form, estao, that's your verb, and then the fagon. So it takes the second form, okay? Your perfect has a reduplication. I'll give you that right quick, and we'll come back and redo this next week. There's your reduplication, and with the kappa. So it has the lu, lay, and lu, and then cos, kappa. So that's it has the reduplication, lambda epsilon, and the kappa. And so that's the ending on it. There's your stem lu. Right there's your stem. Little. Okay. And kos. Kontos. Kotos. They do kotos. And so that's how they have the reduplication, and this they have the kappa. So you add this kappa to it. A kappa sign. We'll come back and do this next week. Let's go back over this, but I wanted to go through those right quick for you. And the accent's not recessive, it's fixed. So the accent marks will be a little different on the USI endings when you have USI. All right. Okay. Now that's, you don't have a USI ending with the kappa, with the perfect. You do have it up here with the active. Okay. You have an USI ending right here. Here and here and here. And here and here and here. Which look like a verb ending, but the accent's in a different spot. That's what they're trying to tell you there with that. All right? All right, we got into it now. Let's come back and look at this again. We'll probably spend 3 weeks on it. I'm sorry, but I think they're so important. We just got to be sure we get it covered good. Right? Any questions?